The story is true, and the way nightmares are true. And if you're listening alone, you should understand by the end, you won't be anymore. Because some things don't stop existing just because the story does. I know that now. I know it the way you know pain after it's already happened. Not while it's happening. It began on a stretch of highway, so empty it didn't feel like a place meant for people. Just asphalt cutting through miles of scrubland and dead grass, under a moon that looked too sharp, like it was paying attention. I was driving late to clear my head, not running from anything specific, just letting the road erase thoughts the way it always had, until I noticed headlights behind me that stayed far away. Never passing, never falling behind, just there, steady, patient. Like whoever was driving had decided that matching my speed mattered more than getting anywhere. I remember checking my mirrors a few times, telling myself it was nothing, just another car on an empty road. But the longer it stayed, the more wrong it felt. It didn't drift, didn't adjust, didn't react when I slowed slightly or sped up. It was like the driver already knew what I was going to do before I did it. When my phone lost signal and the radio dissolved into static, that's when the unease turned into something colder. Something that settled into my chest and refused to move. After what felt like an hour but couldn't have been more than 10 minutes, I saw a figure standing on the shoulder ahead, illuminated briefly by my headlights before disappearing into the darkness again. Instinct told me not to stop. Every warning sense screaming that whatever this was, it wasn't coincidence. The figure staggered into the road just enough that I had to brake, tires screaming, heart slamming, and when the car behind me slowed perfectly in sync, I knew they had been waiting for this. The figure was a man, older, clothes dirty, face slack with exhaustion, holding one arm like it was injured. He looked at me with eyes that were too clear, too focused for someone supposedly stranded, and he asked for help in a voice that was calm in a way that didn't match his appearance. Before I could answer, the car behind me pulled onto the shoulder and turned off its lights, plunging everything into darkness except for my headlights. Something in the man's expression shifted. Not relief, not fear, but satisfaction, like a box had been checked. I locked my doors without thinking, asking what was wrong with his arm. He smiled slightly and said it didn't matter anymore, because I'd stopped. That's when he reached behind his back and dropped the act completely. Standing straight, lifting his head, the limp vanishing. Standing straight, lifting his head, the limp vanishing. He knocked once on my window, not hard, not threatening, just enough to remind me he was there. He told me that the road was closed ahead, that there had been accidents, that it wasn't safe, and that the man in the other car would explain everything. I realized then that there was no emergency, no injury, no chance encounter. Just two men working together with practiced ease. Panic surged as I hit the gas, swerving around him, heart hammering as the headlights behind me roared back to life and pursued. Closer now, aggressive, flashing once, twice, like signals. I pushed the car harder than I ever had, the engine whining, the road blurring, but no matter how fast I went, the other car stayed exactly the same distance away. That's when I noticed the third thing. The reflector signs along the road, repeating the same mile marker number over number. I was trapped in a loop someone else controlled. My breath came in sharp gasps as I understood that this wasn't random violence. It was methodical, rehearsed, something they'd done many times before. I thought about the missing person stories I half remembered, the ones that never had details, just vehicles found abandoned miles away. The road suddenly narrowed, forcing me to slow, and the car behind me closed in, ramming my bumper once, not enough to spin me out, just enough to send a message. Ahead, I saw another figure step in the road, then another, then I realized they weren't strangers at all, but the same man, the same face, appearing again and again, stepping out from different angles like a reflection multiplied in broken glass. My mind snapped under the pressure, fear turning sharp and clear, and I made the decision that still wakes me up at night. I aimed the car directly at him, at the man who pretended to be hurt, and I didn't slow down. When he jumped aside at the last second, laughing, I felt a terrible clarity settle over me, because now I understood the rules. There was no moral high ground here, only survival. The road finally broke free of the loop, mile markers changing, terrain shifting, and I saw a rest area ahead, lights glowing like a promise. I veered into it, skidding to a stop among empty parking spaces, heart pounding so hard it hurt. For a moment there was silence. No pursuing car, no footsteps, just the hum of fluorescent lights. I thought maybe I'd escaped, until I noticed something carved into the concrete near the benches. Names, dozens of them, scratched deep, overlapping, some crossed out, some circled, and beneath them a message written again and again in different handwriting. You stopped. The headlights appeared at the edge of the lot, not rushing this time, just rolling slow, confident. And I understood then that they didn't need to chase forever. They just needed patience. Because everyone stops eventually. Everyone believes there will be witnesses, safety, rules. I made my final choice. Not the brave one, not the right one, but the only one that felt real. I drove straight through the far end of the rest area, smashing through a flimsy barrier and back onto a service road I hoped led anywhere else, leaving the lights, the names, and the men behind. I still don't help strangers. And sometimes, late at night when I'm driving and see headlights holding the same exact distance behind me, I slow down just enough to see if they slow down too. Because if they do, I already know what I'm willing to do now. And that's the part that scares me the most. Because the road didn't just show me what kind of people exist out there. It showed me exactly what kind of person I become when no one else is watching. And if you're listening to this and you're on the road right now, and you think this is just a story, check your mirrors because they're very patient. They're very human. They know you'll stop eventually.